And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. So hit subscribe, watch, comment, keep the comments coming, and share with a friend because the stupidity never ends. And what a beautiful Monday morning it is. I mean, we were blessed with a wonderful, truly wonderful appearance by Bullshit Barbie. Karoline Leavitt held a presser this morning, and I want to unpack for you the number of lies that she spread in just one single early morning presser. Now, while she didn't mention President Biden's cancer diagnosis in her opening monologue, Peter Doocy from Fox News did ask her if Trump was worried that the White House doctor may have missed the early stages. Play that clip.
Follow up on former President Biden. White House doctors may have missed the early stages of his prostate cancer. So is President Trump worried about the quality of care that presidents get here?
Not as far as President Trump is concerned. The White House physician we have here is phenomenal, and the team of physicians that take care of the president, particularly at Walter Reed Medical Center, are great. The president had his physical recently, as you know. He had perfect results. He's in very good shape. I think those of you who traveled to the Middle East with us last week can attest to the president's endurance. And by the way, I will add, we returned home from a very long and tiring trip last week, and on Saturday, where was the president? In the Oval Office working all day. He doesn't stop. He doesn't quit. He's in great health, and he trusts his physicians.
Two more things.
Yeah, let me be very clear about something. All right. I truly believe that Congress needs to pass a bill that turns around and says that the president's medical records, despite HIPAA violations, must be, and I literally mean it, must be released to the American people. Because here's what we're finding out regarding Joe Biden, that they had known for a decade that his PSA was elevated, which is an indication of cancer in the prostate. Very simple test. It's a blood test. And while I acknowledge that it's a HIPAA violation, as president of the United States, things like this should be known. They should be revealed, and they should not be allowed to hide under the guise of HIPAA, which is exactly what, for example, President Trump is doing. Now, meanwhile, ahead of Trump's call with Vladimir Putin, Doocy also asked if Trump sees Putin as a good guy or as a bad guy. Play the clip.
Two more things. Putin ghosted everybody at these peace talks last week. As President Trump phones him today to try to figure out an end to the Ukraine war, does he think that Putin is the good guy or the bad guy?
I'll let the president speak on that conversation later. He's made his feelings about both sides of this war quite clear throughout it. He wants to see it end.
And the last one, what?
Yeah, let me be clear about something. It's such a straightforward question, but Karoline, she's good. She really is. She's good. She knows that if she turns around and she says that he sees as the good guy, our ally becomes our adversary becomes our ally. You know, it's truly amazing how they can all get up. And I don't just mean Karoline Leavitt. I'm talking about the entire group of enablers. They get up and they just lie with impunity. Meanwhile, the reporter then asked Karoline about Moody's, right, U.S. credit rating being downgraded. Play that clip.
Thanks.
Edward.
Yes, thanks.
And then I'll go to you.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
I want to get the president's reaction to Moody's downgrading the credit rating of the United States.
Sure. Well, look, the president talked about this over the weekend. The Secretary of Treasury also talked about it. When you look at the world has confidence in the United States of America and our economy once again. The president just last week secured trillions of dollars in investments from countries in the Middle East. We have seen trillions of dollars of investments flowing into our economy since the president took office. That is because America or people around the world have confidence in the United States of America. And if you also just look at the raw economic data that we're seeing, last week when we were out of town, inflation dropped once again. Oil prices are dropping, gas prices are dropping. The president has added nearly 500,000 jobs to the American economy already. So there's a lot of optimism in this economy, and the president disagrees with that assessment.
And I want to ask you one more thing about.
Yeah, that's absolutely not true, by the way. I mean, again, There has not been trillions of dollars flowing into the United States of America. Trump has made claims that trillions and trillions of dollars are going to be coming in based upon these statements by these foreign countries. I'll believe it when I see it. You know why I say that? Not to be a smartass. I say it because he used the same bullshit line during his first term, and none of that money came to America. Meanwhile, a reporter then asked Karoline about Trump's statement that Walmart, right? There's so much money coming into America, right? We're making so much money. Trump and his team are telling Walmart that they should eat the tariff costs. Why? I thought the tariffs were paid for by the foreign country. Play the clip.
President Trump and his top economic aides have repeatedly said that Americans will not pay the cost of tariffs. In fact, last week, Lutnick said people have to drop the, quote, silly arguments that consumers would pay the cost. But over the weekend, as you know, the president posted that Walmart should eat the tariffs and not charge the value customer anything. I'll be watching, and so will your customers. So does he acknowledge that if companies don't absorb the full cost, Americans will have to pay?
Well, first of all, the CEO of Walmart made those comments about the tariffs on an earnings call where CEOs, I believe, are legally obligated to give the most dire warnings and forecasts to their investors and stakeholders. The reality is the president has always maintained Chinese producers will be absorbing the cost of these tariffs. And that is why China was so quick to hustle to the negotiating table with the United States of America. They need our markets. They need our consumers.
Amazing. It's amazing, once again, how they lie with impunity. You know, as bad a job as Trump is doing, it is these people like Karoline Leavitt, Howard Lutnick, and others who make J.D. Vance, that make these statements that make Trump look even worse than what's truly going on. Meanwhile, here's another one. Because as I spoke about a few weeks ago, Stephen Miller, another guy who should never, ever be in front of the camera, he claimed that they're going to try to end habeas corpus. And this, of course, is what Karoline had to say as an update. Play that clip.
One other question. Recently, Stephen Miller at the White House made some comments about considering suspending habeas corpus. And I'm curious if there's any update on how the White House is exploring that option to enact the president's agenda.
I don't have any update at this time, but I can check in with our Deputy Chief of Staff, Mary Mark.
Yeah, amazing. True. Again, amazing. But she then goes on and she also speaks about Trump's big, beautiful bill. No, seriously, that's what it's called. The big, beautiful bill, saying that it's going to save us trillions of dollars. Play that clip.
Just a quick follow-up. Is the president okay with this bill adding to the deficit?
This bill does not add to the deficit. In fact, according to the Council of Economic Advisors, this bill will save $1.6 trillion. And the president absolutely understands and hears the concerns of fiscal conservatives and of Americans who want to get our fiscal house in order. That's what the intention of this bill is. There's $1.6 trillion worth of savings in this bill. That's the largest savings for any legislation that has ever passed Capitol Hill in our nation's history. The next bill that even comes close was $800 billion. That's less than half of the savings that we see in the one big beautiful bill. And so the goal of this bill is to produce economic growth, to cut taxes, and to get our fiscal house in order. And this is the right step in the right direction towards doing that.
Sure, simply by cutting veteran benefits, cutting Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP programs, and so on. It's a big, beautiful bill. If, of course, you're a big, beautiful billionaire, unlike what they're trying to show you here, that it's going to help the working class. No, it's not. It's going to bury the working class. And a lot of people, a whole lot smarter than this administration, economists, have all told you that. Meanwhile, she also spoke about how the bill is literally will create MAGA baby savings accounts. Imagine, play that clip.
As I said, this is a very pro-family piece of legislation. Not only does it increase the child tax credit, but it also includes MAGA baby savings accounts for children that are born before January 1st, 2024, under 8 years old, U.S. citizens, and have at least one parent with a valid Social Security number. And when this tax provision becomes law, the child, if the parents seek to do this, will be set up with a savings account. Essentially, it's a 401k for a newborn baby.
Yeah, by the way, if you want, you can make a 401k for a newborn baby. In fact, if you ever read any of the books on Donald, his father did that when he was a baby, where he was making like $500,000 a year at the age of 1. Meanwhile, Karoline also touched on Medicaid. Play that clip.
I agree with Republicans behind this bill that Medicaid work requirements should be implemented as soon as 2026.
So the president wants to preserve and protect Medicaid for Americans who this program was intended for, the most vulnerable in our society: pregnant women, low-income families, seniors, those who truly need these benefits. And it should be going to people who physically cannot work. We want to see able-bodied Americans at least working 20 hours per week, whether that's part-time or full-time, whether that's even looking for work or volunteering for 20 hours a week if they are receiving Medicaid. These are common sense provisions. These are common sense changes that were actually introduced by former Democrat President Clinton. They've been supported by every Democrat president since, including the previous president, Joe Biden. But again, these are common sense reforms to ensure that those that this program was intended for receive those benefits.
Yeah, let me be very clear. The people who she named are not people that this administration is even thinking about. People who are senior citizens, the disadvantaged, the unable. They don't care about them. He only cares about creating tax breaks for his billionaire pals. Lastly, Karoline spoke about the Qatarian plane, emphasizing. Now, look, we all know exactly what this is, but not her. Nope. She speaks about this Qatarian plane, emphasizing that it is not a personal donation, i.e. kickback, to the president. Play the clip.
On the gift plane from Qatar, 3 things. Is there a timeline for the U.S. receiving that plane? Do you know how long it will take to retrofit the plane to presidential standards? And thirdly, has the intelligence community, security folks, have they weighed in on whether that plane can actually be secured to presidential standards?
I'm glad you brought up this question because I was watching the American press spew a lot of misinformation about the plane donation last week when we were abroad. Let's be very clear. The government of Qatar, the Qatari family, has offered to donate this plane to the United States Air Force, where that donation will be accepted according to all legal and ethical obligations. It will be retrofitted to the highest of standards by the Department of Defense and the United States Air Force. This plane is not a personal donation or gift to the President of the United States. And everyone who wrote that last week should go and correct their stories, because this is a donation to our country and to the United States Air Force. As for a timeline, because it is the United States Air Force that is accepting the plane, I would defer you to them for specifics, because the President, frankly, has nothing to do with it. It's the Air Force's project to take on. Sure.
First of all, it's not the Air Force, it's the Department of Defense. And second of all, Donald himself turned around and said that he wants to keep the plane after finished using it, and then ultimately it should go to the presidential library. What are you talking about, Karoline? This press conference was filled, yes, with misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, most notably from you. That's why I constantly say, help us to grow this community. We must put an end to this bullshit. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.